Much of a writer, but I thought I'd try my best to describe what Florence means to me and why I love living in this city so much. And along the way, I'll prepare a few dishes inspired by the city I now call home.
The first thing you have to understand about Florence is that it belongs to the world. Sure, it's located in Tuscany to be exact, but it is, quite simply, one of the great centers of human civilization. And that means one thing: tourists. Oddio, the tourists. They're everywhere. At times you feel like you're living in an anthill, not in one of the world's most exquisitely beautiful cities. The result? Crowds, chaos, congestion. And the lineups, so many, so long, they make you want to take a pass on seeing the Botticellis at the Uffizi. Then there's the Italian politics. Yeah, they love their politics. Every day someone's protesting something, going on strike, and basically shutting down the city. Add to this the somewhat che sarà sarà Italian attitude to life, even the banks aren't open when you expect. And the city's famous Dolce Vita often morphs into una vita da cane, a dog's life. Just when you think the city is a bit overwhelming, comes relief. At every turn, you stumble upon a little oasis of serenity where you encounter the city's extraordinary alfresco lifestyle. Friends and strangers about to become friends meet and gossip and laugh while sipping Chianti out of plastic cups at a Tripe stand, Italy's alternative to the hot dog stand. Florence, the crossroads of the world, once again becomes Florence, a very big Tuscan village. Walking around the streets of Florence, there's such distinct smells and sights. And I'm not just talking about the tourist sites, but also the food. It's so deliciously Florence. This next recipe is not for everyone, but it's one of my favorites. Tripe alla fiorentina. Or tripe is the stomach of a cow. Tripe has a rubbery kind of texture that kind of grows on you. And fortunately, it's available in supermarkets already boiled and cleaned, and that avoids the laborious process of scrubbing, boiling, blanching, which sometimes can take up to 24 hours to prepare. Here in Florence in the summertime, it's prepared like a salad, with a little bit of olive oil, tomatoes, onions, in the panzanella style. And when cooked right, becomes very succulent and is unmatched by more expensive cuts of meat. Tripe in Italy is considered a poor man's dish. In fact, there's a saying in Italy, non c'è tripe per gatti, which means there's no tripe for the cats. Hey, when you can't even afford tripe for the cats, things are pretty tough. And now, I'm going to prepare sofrito, which is the base of many Italian dishes of fried up vegetables. First thing, extra virgin olive oil. Heat it up. Our store-bought tripe is already pre-boiled, so it's ready to go in a snap. You saute your onions, your garlic, your celery, and carrots. Once they're nice and soft, just add in our strips of tripe. Just keep stirring so the tripe gets the flavor of the olive oil. Next, I have a tin of peeled plum tomatoes and all the juices. And use your spoon to break up the big chunks of tomatoes. And it's kind of nice when you're eating your tripe and you see little chunks of tomatoes. It's not one even consistency. Another great tripe dish here in Florence is just with beans. Tuscans love their beans, so everything has a bean slant to it. It's just tripe sauteed with beans in olive oil. A little bit of salt and pepper. And freshly grated Parmigiano. Quite a bit. And this will help thicken the sauce and give it tons of flavor. Continue stirring your tripe in the tomato sauce. For about 15-20 minutes, the sauce is going to reduce. And that's all there is to it. Tripe alla fiorentina.
Vuoi un altro caffè?
Perfetto, grazie.
Te lo porto, tra un postino te lo porto.
Grazie, Vito.
Though Florence is a city chock-a-block with centuries-old artistic splendors, the greatest artworks, for my money, are the Florentines themselves. Like most Italians, the Fiorentini put a lot of stock on striking a bella figura, looking good. Beauty and the good life is on every street corner, but beauty is also the city's business. And it's not just the Ferragamos and the Guccis who've made their hometown proud. It's all the local artisans and shopkeepers who satisfy the cravings for the good life. Florentine style. Meet some of the guys in my hood. Like Carlo, a guy who's in the know when it comes to food, and who can source the best truffles in Tuscany.
Okay. Today, this afternoon, we have the Tuscany new olive oil.
New olive oil.
Yeah, come
See you
in.
later.
And Lucia, who knows just how virginal olive oil should be.
Bene. I'll come in later on per l'olio. Più tardi. Ciao, cara.
But bottom line, Florence is about art. So galleritas like my buddy Walter are thick on the ground. He's always on the lookout for the next Leonardo or Michelangelo. Back in the Renaissance, creative types met and brainstormed at the local cafe over a steaming cappuccino. Well, guess what? They still do. And for me, a good espresso is an art form all in itself. Meet my buddy Alessandro, the Vespa man, an artist in his own right. He specializes in refurbishing vintage Vespas so they're as good as new. Not all Florentine art hangs on walls. Some of it comes with two wheels attached.
Le sono bellissime.
Sono
Andiamo a mangiare?
Prima prova questa.
No.
Dai,
Sì?
poi andiamo a mangiare.
Call me simple, but my idea of an artistic high is taking one of Alessandro's babies out for a spin.
Va bene? Sì.
Ok.
Because talent and the ability to create beauty, Florence's modus operandi, do not respect traditional class boundaries, the city is a surprisingly democratic place, for old Europe at least. The rich and the poor, aristocrats and peasants, starving artists and the occasional Ferragamo share the same neighborhoods and the same bars and trattorias, none more so than at a place called David Rocco in Florence's Old Market, where Signor Rocco, no relations here, he's the guy in the baseball hat, serves you things he thinks you'd like, so no menu is needed.
Italian food mirrors Italian life, in which you'll often get contrasting ingredients coming together in harmony. This recipe is a Florentine classic, and it's called La Ribollita. La Ribollita literally means to reboil. It's a simple minestrone soup, starting off with some garlic and onions, Savoy cabbage, cavolo nero, which is black cabbage, carrots, celery, potatoes. Finally chop them up, day-old Tuscan bread, and some beans. And now I can start my Ribollita. Like so many Tuscan recipes, La Ribollita's origins come from the poor Tuscan farmer. Years ago, they didn't have very much, so they would often reboil their soup, La Ribollita. There's nothing fancy with this. Everything goes into one pot. For this recipe, you can add as much or as little of a single ingredient as you like. If you want to add more potatoes, add more potatoes. Cabbage, same thing. It's all up to you. Just mix it up. Although Ribollita is considered a soup, it's not to be served piping hot. In fact, more at room temperature. It's often served with a fork, very dense. Add some red Ribollita beans. The back of the spoon, I like to just mush up the beans, and this gives it a nice thick consistency. A touch of salt, fresh ground pepper, a little bit of pureed tomato. Vegetable broth, not too much. A couple of ladles, this will help it cook. It takes about 45 minutes to cook. Keep an eye on it once in a while. If it dries up too much and starts sticking to the bottom of the pot, just add some more vegetable broth. Some people like to serve their bread right at the very end. I prefer to put it in while the soup is cooking. This thickens up the soup. And of course the bread absorbs some of the broth. Gives it that nice thick papa consistency. Always let it rest for about an hour before serving. Get all the flavors to mingle and come together. And then lastly, drizzle some extra virgin olive oil before serving. One of the benefits of cooking La Ribollita, it tastes great and it'll always fill up your kitchen with the smells of Florence.
A lot of work. I'm writing an article for a magazine back home on why I love living in Florence.
Ti ho portato un caffè, così ti rimetti un po'.
Grazie, a posto, eh?
Oh, mi raccomando, metti il nome delle Giube Rossi,
Reno,
di un
I
locale
promise I'll
storico.
put my favorite cafe in the article.
Io ti ringrazio tanto, ci vediamo dopo.
I'll mention your name as well.
Yes.
Bene, ciao.
There are those who say beauty is only skin deep, but have such skeptics been to Florence? Don't think so. The city's exquisiteness surrounds you 24/7, as do the high-spirited Fiorentini. But there are certain times of the day when the city's unique aesthetic becomes almost dreamy, and the place just envelops you. You literally feel the need to pinch yourself. What better way to come back to Earth than buying a bag of one of the staples of everyday Florentine life, chestnuts.
The smell of roasted chestnuts in the air is synonymous with Florence in the fall. And like most Italians, once I start, I just can't stop. This recipe is involtini with castagne and prosciutto. Involtini is basically rolled beef, and I'm going to be preparing it with chestnuts and prosciutto cotto, or cooked ham. And I got Bruno, my butcher, to thinly slice some beef, give it a nice pounding so it's easily rolled. It's really simple. Lay out some cooked ham and your chestnuts. A little bit of salt, fresh ground pepper, and begin to rotolare, which means to roll just like a jelly roll. You can use butcher twine, but I kind of like toothpicks. Italians love their chestnuts. They're generally available from the beginning of the fall straight through to the end of winter. There's a few ways of preparing your chestnuts. You can roast them in the oven, or you can boil them. Roasting them in the oven has a smoky, crunchier, drier taste. Boiling them for about 30 minutes makes them nice and moist and sweet, and is perfect for this rolled beef. And Italians have this thing. If ingredients are not in season, just don't use them. So avoid using chestnuts that are not fresh, that are in cans or jars. It's just not the same. You can use different types of meats for involtini: chicken, turkey, or veal, and of course, different vegetables or cheeses. It all works. Some chopped up onions, sauté it in olive oil. And then I like adding fresh sprig of rosemary. This will flavor the olive oil, give a nice depth of flavor to your sauce. Now, just add your involtini straight into the pan. Add a touch of salt. Now, if your rolled beef opens up a bit, it's okay. Not a big deal. Just grab a toothpick and close it up again. Once all the sides are seared, add some white wine. And that's going to help deglaze all the wonderful flavor at the bottom of the pan, and it's going to be your sauce. I like adding whole chestnuts right into the pan, and then a couple of them, break them up with your hands, and this will thicken up the sauce and give it nice texture. My involtini are ready. Just gonna shut off the stove and let the meat relax and mingle for a bit before I serve it.
Some claim Paris is a city of lovers, but I think it's Florence. Certainly there's no place on earth I'd rather be with my love. That's my definition of Dolce Vita, the sweetness of life.
People, there's a pretty good chance you'll run into someone you know, especially when the city is as beautiful as Florence. Who wants to stay home?
In North America, it's called happy hour. But in Fiorentini, would find only an hour for happiness rather stingy. So instead, they just get together in the evening with friends for aperitif and nibblies like you've never imagined. Prosciutto, Tuscan salumi, fusilli al pomodoro, or ravioli with porcini, and it doesn't cost a single euro. The food anyway. A far cry from the complimentary ear nuts and pretzels you get back home. At my favorite bar, appropriately called Dolce Vita, the camaraderie is alive and well, especially when the owner, who's a buddy, lets me pour the sambucas. And believe me, the sambucas flow freely.
Ciao, ci vediamo, grazie. There's good and bad in every city, and Italians sure have their fair share of complaints. But I have to say, writing this magazine article has made me realize that it's sure nice to live in a place where my living room is not defined by four walls. I live in the whole city, and for me, I call that a privilege. Oh, Nance. Ciao. Florence. Good, yeah? Great night. Oh, Shuni. Hey, Tom. Ciao, Gigi.
Okay,
Ciao.
ciao.
Hey, I'm in. Ciao. Jared. Buonasera, Ciccio. Ci vediamo.